My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, welcome back. Today we got a special guest zooming in under really interesting circumstances. We got Buddy Rushing, who is a very accomplished real estate investor. He's a military guy, and he's zooming in from Southern California. And right now, if you're watching this on the video, no, Buddy's not in jail, but he's at a co-working space. It's got a pretty cool podcast studio in it because he and his family rent out their home during the summer months, and they do staycations and go visit cool places, which is an absolutely brilliant idea. And we're going to be talking about all things real estate with Buddy Rushing. So Buddy, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I love that story. What you're up to, really, really smart, renting out the house in the prime time and doing staycations and taking the kids around and seeing parts of the state that you probably don't see the rest of the year. That's really, really smart.
And parts of the world. We started 2 years ago, and we had this like crazy idea because we'd stayed in Airbnbs all over there. Everyone has, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I spend like $400 for some of these Airbnbs that are kind of normal houses. They're just better than staying in a hotel, right?
Yeah.
But imagine how much money the owner could make. And so we decided to just put our house up. We live south of Camp Pendleton in a place called Carlsbad. And
I know Carlsbad. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful city. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal city, right? And so I used my VA loan because I was in the Marine Corps. I was stationed at Camp Pendleton. I used my VA loan to buy this house. Put zero down on it and everything, and then we renovated it over like 5 years. Like we really just put a lot of work into it, and now it's beautiful. It's got a beautiful backyard with a pool and a grotto and a fire pit. It's just a really, really nice, wonderful backyard. But it's a relatively normal house. I mean, it's like it's got a guest house and it's like 2,700 square feet, but it's a single level, like nothing. It's not a mansion. It's a normal freaking house. And we put it up on Airbnb, and my gosh, like the first time I saw somebody wanted to book it over the July 4th weekend, and this was 2 years ago, but they were offering to pay almost $1,000 a night.
Wow.
And I was like, holy cow. Because like the thing is, it's because the guest house and the main house are different, you're able to put two families in there. And so if you think about it, you could put a family of like 4 or 5 in the main house and a family of like 3 in the guest house. And how much would it cost to rent a hotel, 2-3 hotel rooms in Carlsbad without a backyard, without a pool? And so it actually made sense for them. But at the same time, my mortgage isn't anywhere near that much, right? And so we rented it out. And we used the money to travel for 3 months through Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Belize.
Nice.
And I've got it. If you follow me on social media, you can see, or especially if you follow my wife, we documented the whole thing. And we had our kids with us, right? And I work remotely like a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And so we were just like, oh my gosh, like this is wild that you can get your house, a liability as it were, to be an asset and to help you live the life. Right.
Nice twist, huh? Because, I mean, Kiyosaki always talked about our house being our biggest liability instead of our asset. But now you figured out a way to turn that around. Yeah. Very cool. So, Buddy, besides renting out your house for the big bucks in the summer months, you do a lot of other stuff in real estate. Maybe just give us a 30,000-foot perspective. What do you personally invest in? What's your main strategy? What's kind of your bread and butter?
It's funny. I started out just buying little single-family rentals in a place called 29 Palms, California. $70,000 houses, rent them out for $850, and off you go. Then the market crashed, and then those houses were worth even less. But interestingly enough, the rent kept going up, and so we bought over the years. And again, I didn't come from a real estate background. I grew up on food stamps and welfare in East Tennessee. So like that we didn't know anything. I read Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. And it just, like many millions of other people, it just opened up my eyes and it lit a fire under me, and just an amazing experience. I since in an interesting twist, I've since then had a chance to meet and become friends with Sharon Lechter, who actually wrote that
Okay.
book with him, and
Yes.
got to thank her personally for her words impacting my life, which was a neat kind of full circle moment.
Nice.
But anyway, just single families, nothing crazy. Single families, renting them out to military people, and then we did quite a few of those, and then we started self-directing our IRA. We started doing joint venture investing, options, and various things like that. And then I've got a block of syndication investments that I made as an LP. I'm a GP on several syndications, and I'm building. I've got 20 lots in Southwest Florida, and so we're building 4 houses right now down there, which actually would have been a much better move like 5 years ago. Right now, it's
2020
a
hindsight, right?
20, yeah, hindsight 20,
Literally.
exactly. That is so funny. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's so funny because in that particular instance, I mean, we take a long view of these properties anyway. We're going to hold them for like 20 years or whatever. But
Nice. Yeah.
if I had started 5 years prior or 5 years later, than right now. It would be a completely different story. But right now, it's a really tough one. It's a really
Yeah.
tough market. Lots of crazy stuff going on. But nevertheless, we do. And then we've actually bought up a block of properties in Northeast Florida in a place called Jacksonville.
Mhm.
And we're doing everything from Airbnb to medium term rentals. We've got some condos there that we rent out, and then we're building 2 luxury townhomes. Um,
Nice. So you're doing a
Other stuff.
combination of buying existing stuff and building your own stuff.
Yeah, we've tried. I mean, I'm not, that's I just described my own sort of personal involvement in real
Hmm.
estate. But yeah, I would say my favorite type of investing, this is going to sound pretty strange. My favorite type of investing is the exact type that we started with. Small
Just
single
little
family
single
rental
family homes.
properties.
Yeah.
Yep, in the suburbs, the path of progress of cities, that where you're giving a family a home, and I can tell you over time, I know there's a lot of people that are like, I don't even mess with single families, like apartments are the way to go, and God bless them, right? And there are other people that are
Well,
like, well,
they
that's
might
not
not
for
be
me.
saying it so much these days anymore.
They
I
are
tell you what.
not, they are
No.
not saying it in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, just full disclosure, every single syndication that I'm invested in as a limited partner is not distributing. They're not
Yeah.
paying distributions because interest
Yeah.
rates rocked them, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's people that have made tons of money in apartment buildings. I own apartment buildings. I'm not saying you asked me what my favorite is. My
Yeah.
favorite is
Yeah.
the everyman single family rental. I just love them.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now, the other thing I like that I picked my ears up there is you're thinking long term with these. You're not in this to make the quick
Mm-hmm.
flip buck and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be safe to say that you like to buy these single family homes and get those mortgages paid down, paid off, and then just have them be little cash flow machines, or do you leverage them to buy other properties as well?
No, I leverage them. The reason is because to me it's simple arbitrage.
Hmm.
So if I can buy, and even bank financing right now, it's 6.8%, something like that. That's still pretty historically low, right?
Hmm.
And so like um, if I can borrow at 5%, and I can borrow 80% of the value of a home, and I only put 20% down, and I'm only paying 5% interest for my money, but I'm able to turn around and make 10, 12, 15% ROI.
Hmm.
I can now buy 5 times as many of those as if right? So, I will never make a single dollar extra payment on my mortgage on my primary home because I have a 2.25 interest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
why in the world wouldn't I hold that for 30 years? It doesn't make any sense. I can put my money to better use elsewhere. Um, so that's the one little thing I would say. And again, nothing wrong with paying off your mortgage and hold. If that's your
Hmm.
strategy, I know a lot of people like doing that. That's nothing wrong with that. For me, I'm able to build generational wealth and financial freedom faster if I use healthy leverage. That's the
There's
only
a
reason that I
healthy
use
leverage.
it.
That's the key. That's for sure. Yeah. Healthy
Yes,
leverage.
gap financing is tricky, like EMD financing, like hard money, all that stuff is tricky, tricky, tricky because, well, and also floating rates. I don't know how sophisticated your listeners are. So like if I'm
Well,
being
a
too
lot of them are,
simple.
we got the whole range, but a lot of them are active
Okay.
real estate investors. They get this
Okay,
stuff.
great. So then they know. So then you guys know, right? I mean, you buy an apartment complex, and you get your interest rate at 3.5, but it's a floating rate, as a lot of commercial properties are, and all of a sudden rates go to 8%. Well, you're squeezed. Your cap rate's completely,
Squeezed is a nice word for it.
squeezed is a great word. Absolutely
Screwed
annihilated.
is kind of a better word for it,
Absolutely
maybe.
annihilated is a
Yeah,
better word for it, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah.
because that's the case, right? Whereas healthy leverage, I like fixed rate financing, or maybe you have a limited amount that it can increase, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, man, like I've got 5 loans on houses in Memphis that are investment loans at 2.875 that are
Yeah.
amortized 4 years. So why in the world would I ever make a single dollar extra payment on that when
No,
they're
you're
already
right.
paying every payment per month goes more toward principal than it does interest,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and also it's a hedge against inflation. And also it's a hedge against litigation. Because if I don't have a ton of equity in that house, as soon as you run a report on it, you're going to be like, oh, wow, there's only 20 grand of equity. It doesn't make sense to sue for that house. I'm going to spend more than that in legal fees, right?
Yeah.
Especially, right? And especially when it's wrapped in an LLC and blah, blah. So if you own free and clear, you got to have a lot of good protection on that, because that's a golden goose that somebody can just look at. A lot of people don't think like that. They
Yeah.
don't think that, like, if I have 500 grand of equity in a house, and somebody trips and falls on it and they find out I've got 500 grand of it, well, that's a golden goose they can go after. But if you
Yeah.
strip away most of that equity with healthy leverage, it's a litigation hedge, it's an inflation hedge, and it also accelerates your path to financial freedom because you can do many, many more investments and get a higher cash on cash return. So,
No, that makes complete sense. So, buddy, I know you're very, very passionate about helping and working with folks in the military and first responders
mhm.
because that's your background. So maybe tell me a little bit about that and kind of because I know you're a very passionate kind of guy. So what is it?
Yeah.
What's the big why behind what you do?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this, and I've done this for, well over a decade. And so, it really, for me, boils down to the fact that people, it's an all volunteer force, right? So we haven't had a draft since Vietnam. So every single person serving in the military today and for the last generation has volunteered to do so, volunteered to serve, volunteered to sacrifice in many, many different ways, not just in combat, but also, with time away from their family, with, the wear and tear on their body and their mind and everything. So it is, I don't have to tell you guys that, it's service and it's sacrifice to some degree for the preservation and betterment of the American dream. And the American dream, as we define it as Marines, as service members, is freedom. It's not a white picket fence. It's the freedom to have a white picket fence if that's what you want, but it's freedom. And so many service members, when they transition out, they don't get a chance to actually live that dream they fought to protect
Mm,
because they can't afford to. They can't, right? They got to get a job wherever they can. They got to put their kids in school wherever they can afford to. And
yeah.
if they hate their neighborhood, too bad. If they hate their job or their boss, too bad, right? A lot of times their skills aren't super marketable. And it's a big seismic shock whenever you take off the uniform and in a single instant you lose the camaraderie, the mission, the
Mm,
respect, the income, the structure, the guidance, the leadership, everything, the sense of purpose, all of it
yeah.
goes away, Dave, in a single instant. And you're left outside in a,
And that's not even counting like trauma and
that's
PTSD
right.
and all
That's
that
right.
that kind of stuff.
It's not counting
That's
any
like that's
baggage.
somebody that hasn't gone into combat and just had a military career. That's all the stuff that's hitting them. Then add on to
So,
that
yeah,
PTSD and everything else. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And so, and the thing is though, so yes, it's a very real thing.
Mhm.
And so the tragedy is that a lot of people who serve this country don't get a chance to live the dream they fought to protect. But here's
Yeah.
the other thing I'll say. We're not victims. I am clinically diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. I'm not a victim. I don't want, like, I don't want somebody feeling sorry for me.
Yeah.
What
You
I
don't want that to
want,
define you, right?
it's not the definition of me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And and it's the same for almost every single person who served, regardless of what they're struggling with. Like
Mhm.
my Marines that got their legs blown off, they didn't want pity. They wanted some help because, now they're dealing with a bunch of stuff, but they didn't want pity.
Mhm.
And they wanted to be treated like the men that they were.
Yeah.
And, and so what I guess my point in saying that is we want to be taught what we need to learn, and be empowered to go build this American dream of freedom ourselves in our lives. And it starts with financial freedom. It has to, because without financial freedom, you can have all the lofty dreams in the world, but you can't do anything about them. And
Yeah.
so for us, it's a long answer to your question, but the short answer is the mission of White Feather is to help our nation's heroes build financial freedom so they can actually live the dream they fought to protect. Because that's got to be the benchmark. The financial freedom's got to come first, and then you can do whatever you want with your day. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you kind of come up with that very nice lofty goal, that why? I
Yeah.
mean, that was it an epiphany, or did this kind of come
No, it
across?
doesn't.
Yeah.
In my experience, it doesn't happen that way. It would
Yeah.
be nice to be like I was sitting there and I saw an apple fall and I came up with calculus or whatever,
Well,
right?
no, it sounds like a lot of thought went into that, so that's why
Oh
I'm
my
asking.
God.
Yeah.
And years of
Yeah.
me. I mean, it started with nothing more noble than wanting to invest in real estate so that my wife and I could have a better life. That was it, right? That's all it was. I realized that a lot of other Marines that were hearing me talk about doing this were interested in doing it themselves. So I started being like, hey, yeah, sure. Here's how I run the numbers, da da da. Um, and then there happened a time where I made a friend who was a turnkey provider in Memphis, and I bought a couple properties from him, and he had a bunch more. And so I told my buddies, I was like, hey man, I've got a lead on these really cool properties. If you want, I can help you, like review them and take them down and stuff. And word spread like wildfire. And over the next 2 years, from word of mouth, we had collected a community that had purchased over 300 rental properties in
Wow.
Memphis. Yeah, and we're all normal Marines up at Camp Pendleton.
So
And
did you
so,
kind of join forces for that, or did you just show these
mm-mm.
guys how to do their own thing?
No, I showed him. I told the guy that was selling them. I said, "Listen, I've got all these guys. I'm more than happy to kind of guide them through the process of buying, but I don't want to charge them anything for it right now.
Mhm.
But I don't want to do it for free." And so he gave me a small cut of each house that he sold as kind of like a marketing or consulting fee or whatever. And and yeah, and then these guys were able to get the house, and all those properties. I'm very proud to say that was all in 2017, 2018.
Oh,
So all
wow,
those properties
nice.
are worth twice what they were when we bought them. So yeah, so that's how it started. Yeah.
Very nice. No, that is awesome. So, buddy, I'm sure we're gonna have some military folks and first responders and folks that are going to resonate with this. If people want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So we recently revamped our website, and the whole idea is to make it a one-stop shop. So it's whitefeatherinvestments.com. If you forget that, you can just type in White Feather Buddy Rushing, White Feather Edward Rushing, any combination, and you'll find lots of different things online that'll direct you to it. I'm on the socials as well under Edward Rushing, which is my actual birth name. Buddy is just a nickname. Um, there are others that are out there. So mine's are the one with the blue checks. So there are others that have copied those. It's weird, but whatever. Um, yeah. So the best place is to go to White Feather Investments, and you'll learn about the world, what we call the world of White Feather, and you know, it's a whole massive community from coast to coast now, and it's
Oh,
really
that's
cool.
awesome. Just white feather. What does that mean to you? Where does that come from?
Yeah, my wife and I decided together to call the business White Feather like 15 years ago. She liked it because it sounded angelic and beautiful, and she could imagine the imagery in her mind.
Yeah,
I liked it
I'm
because
not thinking Marines there when I'm hearing white feather, but
no,
yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
But there was a Marine named Carlos Hathcock who was a sniper in Vietnam, and he was the deadliest sniper in Marine history. And he was so good and also crazy that he would wear a white feather in his camouflage hat, his booty cover, to taunt the Viet Cong, because obviously you can easily see a white feather. So he was
yeah,
so good and so crazy that he would literally taunt them with a white feather. And so they called him Long Draw, which actually means white feather. That was what they nicknamed him. So,
yeah. Okay, there
but
is a tie-in then. Yeah,
yeah,
so your
and
wife's happy and you're happy.
it's funny. I've heard it described as love and death, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you this proudly. In 15 years, not a single person has ever come up to us and said, White Feather, that's such a beautiful name. But I've had a dozen Marines come up and be like, is that for Carlos Hathcock? So I win.
Awesome, buddy. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.